Good morning, everyone. It's Tracy from Mejias Family Farm, and as promised, we're going to make our own homemade apple cider vinegar. Pretty easy, just a few ingredients, and you'll be having your apple cider vinegar in a few weeks. So let me just let you know what we need. You need your jar. I'm going to use the brown one for now because it's the only half-gallon jar that I have. You're going to need filtered water, raw cane sugar. I'm using organic. Your apple cores and peels, or if you're using organic apples, you can use the entire apple. Just cut it up into little pieces. You're going to need some cheesecloth and obviously your ring. If you don't have cheesecloth, if you have a coffee filter, I prefer organic coffee filters. You can use that as well, but you know what? Let's get started. First off, you're going to grab your jar. Make sure that you've cleaned everything thoroughly because we don't want any contaminations in there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start. Let me just go ahead and let you know that I cut my apples. I peeled my apples and I cored them about a day or so ago. I wanted them to get a little bit brown, and I can smell it still smells delicious. I just covered them with a cheesecloth just so they can breathe. But as you can see, mine have started to turn a little brown. So we're going to get started and put these in. And I have to make a little cut because if you are using organic apples, you can use the entire stem, the entire apple. And I'm just going to cut my little stem off really quick. All right, so here's one of my cores. I'm just going to start loading everything into the jar. And that includes the seeds as well. I apologize, I have some dogs in the background just jumping around like crazy. Probably thinking, who is mommy talking to? But all right, let's get these suckers in there. And doesn't take much, but what we want to do is we want to basically make sure that it's pretty much full because we want some apple cider vinegar, right? And that's, you know, the purpose of making it. So we're just going to throw everything in there. I am personally using organic apples. I just, I love apples. So as I'm cutting, I'm like, these are nice and juicy and they look delicious. And I only got about half my jar. So I actually have some backup apples that I had cut possibly for a snack. And so I'm just going to throw those in there. We want a little bit more. I do have more in the refrigerator because like I said, we love apples here. So we tend to take little snacks. Let me grab some more from the refrigerator. I'm almost there at the top of my jar. Throw a little bit more in there. This is going to be an amazing apple cider vinegar. All right. I think I'm pretty much there, and I still have some for snack. Oops. Put that one away. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to set that aside really quick, and we are going to get our filtered water. I put some in a jar. I didn't want it freezing cold. I wanted it basically room temperature because we're going to be mixing the sugar in with this, and I think it's always best to have room temperature water when doing any type of recipe or working with vinegar. All right, so I'm going to add, let me just make sure those are all down, good enough for me. Pretty much they're packed down. I would leave about an inch head space because you're going to be adding water. They are going to begin to float after some time. They possibly can float tomorrow, and they're going to start bubbling, so they need that extra space, because sometimes if you overfill it, what will happen is, because everything's rising above your liquid that we're going to put in, that it will tend to seep over the edges, and we don't want that to happen. So I say leave about an inch or more headspace. From my jar, I don't know if y'all can see that, we have about this much. So, and most likely we're going to be, most likely we're going to be mixing this up, and we're going to pack it down a little bit more once everything's incorporated. So what I'm going to do is, I have a quart jar right here filled with our filtered water. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons, because I used about 3 apples. So it's a tablespoon per apple. So I'm going to add in my pure cane or raw cane sugar. So we're going to add 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix this. I'm going to use the end of my wooden spoon just so we can get all that dissolved. Just going to mix it up. It'll just take a few seconds. I just can't wait for this to be done. I know it takes some time for it to make the vinegar, but you know what? It's going to be cheaper in the long run for us to make our own than to keep continuing to buy store-bought. Yours is going to be the same thing. It's going to be all natural, organic, and if you're lucky, you'll wind up with the mother. And I'm going to tell you that if you do get the mother, you're lucky. And it does happen quite often. I've gotten the mother before. And you want to keep that in there. That's your probiotics. That's the best part of the apple cider vinegar. It's now a raw, unrefined apple cider vinegar that's homemade. And you can share this recipe with others. And that's perfect. So let me just give it one more stir. You can use regular water. I suggest using filtered water because there's no contaminants. If you do decide to use your regular tap water, what I would do is I would place it in the jar, put a cheesecloth, or even keep it open, and let the chlorine or whatever contaminants are in your water release into the air. So let's get started. I'm going to go over the sink a little bit. We're going to pour this into our apple ciders. Our apples. Oh, I can't wait. Can you tell? I'm ready for this apple cider vinegar. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Mine went to just above my apples. So I'm using a half-gallon jar with my apples in it with a 1 quart jar filled with filtered water. And what I'm going to do right now is, unfortunately, I'm going to have to use a little bit of cold water because I want the rest of that sugar out. So I'm just going to pour it a little bit in there. It's just not going to be much. And this is actually filtered water as well. And we're going to shake it up because we want that sugar in there. And if for some reason you get a lot of sugar on the bottom of your jar, just compensate it and add it to the top of your apple mixture that you have in here right now. Or, that should be okay. All right, guys, this is amazing. That already smells delicious. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the end of my wooden, and the reason I say wooden, guys, is because from now on you need to use a wooden or plastic spoon to mix this up. We don't want any contaminants or reactions with the stainless steel or any type of metal spoon with the apple cider vinegar. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. I'm just going around the sides here and pushing everything down. It doesn't matter if all your apples are not underneath the water. A lot of people put a weight. I say don't put a weight because we want it to bubble. We want it to have its like free roam. And you're going to be stirring this every day. So, or pushing it down every day. And every day, pardon the dog, she's barking, she's trying to play with my other one. And every day, yes, you're going to mix this up, whether it's poking it down, putting a sealed lid on there. This is a whole leak-proof lid from Ball that you can purchase. And what I do, you can shake it up. I'm just going to use my spoon and get everything mixed up in there. Let's get all that down in there. Just keep poking and prodding. Get everything there. Okay, here's a little trick that I learned. This is what you purchase at the store, and I'm going to shake it up because there's the mother in the bottom. If you want to kind of quick jump start your own apple cider vinegar, you can add a tablespoon of this. Just lay it on the, throw it in the top, and it'll jump start it. If you just want your own, that's quite all right. I'm going to leave it as my own right now. I'm not going to jump start it, but that is an option for you guys. We don't really need to jump start it because this is only going to take about 2 weeks. And then you're going to strain the apples from it. And then you're going to keep it with, what you're going to do is you're going to keep your cheesecloth on there, or again, a coffee filter. So let's do that now. And we're going to put our little ring on there to keep that down. We want the air, we want the outside air to allow, to basically, you know, commingle together with the apple cider vinegar that we're making. Okay, and you know what you do? You set it somewhere and you leave it for 2 weeks and let it do its thing. You have to stir it every day. If you do happen to get some foam or anything like that, the choice is yours. You can skim it off if you'd like, or you could just mix it up inside there. The reason we need you to mix every day is because we want to prevent mold. You know, food gets moldy and stuff like that happens. What we want you to do is continue to stir. A lot of people will say if there's mold in there, just mix it up. But me personally, I don't want that to happen. So go in every day, stir it, push it down under the water. And then what you can do is just, you know, let it do its thing. You can stir it more than once a day. You could do it a few times a day. The choice is yours. And then about, let it, once you're, okay, after 2 weeks, sorry guys, after 2 weeks of letting this set on your counter, what you're going to do is you're going to strain the juice and the apples. And what's going to happen is you're then going to, once you have strained your apples, you can then give the apples to, you can put in your compost bin. You can give it to your chickens minus the skins. I wouldn't give the skins to the chicken, but that's your preference. I have given potato skins, I'm sorry, apple skins and potato skins to my chickens, and nothing happened to them, as long as you're giving them some kind of something that will help them digest their food. For me, I have little chicks right now, so I'm giving them chicken grit, which helps them digest their food. But then after the 2 weeks, let's get back. After the 2 weeks, after you've strained everything, you're going to pour the liquid back into a jar, a clean jar, and you are going to let it sit anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go in and taste it after after you've poured everything back into a clean jar, just the liquid. You will, after you've waited those 2 weeks, you will want to maybe try it. A lot of people can smell it and be like, okay, that's perfect, that's how I want it. Or you can let it sit. You can let it sit for as long as you want. It's all about the taste that you want. So after anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, you can begin using it. It will become apple cider vinegar. And then you're good to go. There's no more buying these store-bought, you know, organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. So, I mean, it's an easy recipe, as you can see. It's basic. And you guys, if you have made your own apple cider vinegar, please let us know. If you're using my recipe and you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. And until next time, guys, you have a blessed day, and thank you for watching.